That a lot. Okay, he's only been in office about 50 days, and it did take us years to get into this mess. Trying to be fair here. Still, is it a good idea to be pointing fingers of blame right now? Let's ask Michigan Congressman Thaddeus McCotter, who is a Republican and member of the House Financial Services Committee, and also joining us, New Jersey Congressman Rob Andrews, a Democrat and member of the House Budget Committee. Good to see you both. Congressman Andrews, let me begin with you. It started with his inaugural. The president promised an end to the blame game. Is it unproductive, if not hypocritical, for him to continue to blame President Bush?
It would be unproductive, which is why he's really not doing it. Yeah, he mentions the mess he inherited, but he spent 95% of his time and communications energy passing a stimulus bill that will protect or create about 2.5, 3 million jobs, working out a plan to unthaw the credit markets, and he laid out a very specific 10-year budget proposal that hits his view and mine on how to fix the economy. So yeah, he's talked about what he inherited, but he's done a lot more to talk about what comes next.
All right, Congressman McCotter, you know, in fairness, President Bush did the very same thing. I remember it quite well. He blamed the Clinton recession to get his tax cuts passed. You know, and every president, quite honestly, blames his predecessor. So isn't this just sort of typical political rhetoric and the kind of stuff that Americans are really sick of from both Republicans and Democrats?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It is probably an institutional occupation of whoever inhabits the White House looks back on their predecessor and says that they inherited a mess. So I think President Obama is doing nothing that President Bush or even President Clinton or others did. So I think that Rob's right. We just need to focus on where we disagree about how to go forward. And that's the real debate that's taking place in Washington. Like, for example, my party believes the stimulus should have been better. It should have created twice the jobs at half the cost. We think the new $3.6 trillion budget is going to do far more harm to this economy than it's going to help. And those are the issues people want to hear about and discuss and think about.
Yeah, what about that, Congressman Andrews?
Right.
I talked to Christina Romer, who is, of course, as you know, the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, one of the chief economists for the president. And she first told me that we're going to turn the corner on the economy and pull out of this thing by the second half of the year. So then I asked the logical question, then why is most of the stimulus going to be spent after that? And she had no real good answer. Do you?
Well, I don't think most of it is going to be spent in the second half of it, but I think here's the best answer. This has to be a sustained stimulus. It took us a very long time to fall into this, and it's not going to be a few weeks or months to pull us out. Construction spending, first-time home buying, purchase of cars and trucks, investment by small businesses, these need to take place over a period of time, so the stimulus takes place over a period of time as well.
All right, Congressman McCotter, you know, the president's terminology is alarming, to say the least. He uses terms like disaster, catastrophe, crisis, even though this recession, according to the Fed, and by the way, let's put this up on the screen. Here's the comparison on the screen. This is not nearly as bad as the recessions of the 1970s and the 1980s, when unemployment, inflation, and interest rates, as you can see there, were all substantially higher. Is the president's language overwrought, and is he indeed making matters worse by it?
I think you've seen the president try to put more of a constructive emphasis on what may be going right in the economy, and ultimately that the American people will get through this. I think that's to be commended. I also think that that was right for him to do, because much of the dialogue that we heard earlier was very dire. Now, again, as a Republican, I said the same thing about President Bush when he went on there to promote his TARP plan, that he was engaging in something that I thought was going to be very helpful to the American people and put them in a greater state of panic than they needed to. But that comes with the office. You have to remember that in this recession we are facing structural challenges that may lead to very long-term lack of growth, lack of opportunity that past recessions not always necessarily entailed.
Congressman Andrews, last question to you. You know, over and over the president claims, and I'm quoting here, that the cost of health care now causes a bankruptcy every 30 seconds. Well, we fact-checked that. It's not only untrue, it's preposterous. Is the president using false, invented scare tactics to frighten Americans into accepting his social programs like health care?
No, I don't think he's doing that at all. I think if you ask any business person in this country, they're going to tell you that the skyrocketing cost of health care is something that's moving them toward the brink, if not over the brink. And I think rather than fact check, you ought to ask some of your viewers whether they agree with the president. I think they do. I think they do.
Well, we have, and we've heard from them. that no, health care does not cause them to go to bankruptcy.
Really?
In fact, that was one of our questions about a week ago when I asked the question to the Christina Romer, the economic advisor. She said she'd get back to me with some reliable information as to where the president got those numbers. Never did. We'll leave it at that. Congressman Rob Andrews.
I hear that reliable information every day from the small business people I represent. They agree with the president.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Thaddeus McCotter, Rob Andrews, two congressmen, thank you very much.
Thank you.